I stood outside Thunder's pen and sighed. "You're making this impossible, old friend." Thunder pinned his ears back and kicked the fence so hard the boards shook. "I know," I muttered. "You miss him." "I do too. Ever since my father passed away, Thunder had refused every rider who came near him. Every trainer promised miracles. Every trainer ended up covered in dust. My ranch couldn't survive much longer." I rubbed my forehead and whispered, "Maybe selling you is the only choice left." The words hurt more than I expected. A truck rolled into my yard. Pulling my attention away, a tall cowboy climbed out, carrying one small bag. He walked toward me and tipped his hat. "Morning." I nodded. "Morning? Looking for directions?" "No." "What then?" "I'm looking for work." I studied him. "You've got experience?" "I've worked cattle, repaired fences, trained horses." I laughed softly. "You picked the wrong ranch if you're hoping for easy work." "I never hoped for easy." I folded my arms. "See that horse?" He turned toward Thunder. "I see him. His name is Thunder. Strong name. He's impossible." "We'll see." I shook my head. "No, you don't understand." "I'd like to." "Every trainer failed." "I believe you. He throws everyone." "I'm not everyone." I stared at him. "You sound confident." "I sound patient." Before I could answer, my neighbor Carl rode over, another trainer. Carl asked. "He says he's looking for work." Carl laughed. "Tell him to save himself the hospital bill." The cowboy remained calm. "I don't plan on fighting the horse." Carl frowned. "Then how are you planning to ride him?" "I didn't say I planned to ride him today." Carl smirked. "Kid, that's the dumbest thing I've heard." The cowboy smiled slightly. "I don't want to break him." Carl chuckled louder. "Then what?" "I want to earn his trust." Carl looked at me. "Did you hear that?" "I did." "He'll last 5 seconds." "Probably," I admitted. The cowboy looked at Thunder again. I'd still like the chance. I crossed my arms tighter. "Why?" "Because scared animals deserve patience." Thunder isn't scared. I think he is. I felt something twist inside me. No one had ever said that before. Everyone called Thunder stubborn, crazy, dangerous, worthless. This stranger called him scared. I looked toward the horse. Thunder watched us without moving. I faced the cowboy again. "What's your name?" "Ethan." "Where are you from?" "I've been a lot of places." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I can give." Carl leaned closer. "I don't trust mysterious drifters." Ethan shrugged. "You don't have to." Carl turned to me. "Send him away." I stayed quiet. Bills were piling up. Workers had already left. The ranch felt emptier every week. Maybe I was making another mistake. Maybe I couldn't afford not to. Took a slow breath. One chance. Carl blinked. "You're serious?" "I am." He groaned. "You're wasting your time." "Maybe." Ethan nodded once. "Thank you." I pointed toward Thunder's pen. "Don't make me regret it." "I'll do my best." Carl muttered. "This won't end well." Neither of us answered him. Ethan walked toward the gate. Thunder lifted his head. I expected the usual explosion, the pinned ears, the angry charge, the wild kicking. Instead, Ethan stopped several feet away. He didn't reach for the gate. He didn't speak. He simply stood there. Thunder stared back. The whole ranch seemed to fall. Silent. I held my breath. For the first time since losing my father, I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel. Hope. I watched Ethan sit outside Thunder's pen again. I walked over and asked, "Are you ever going to touch him?" "Not today." "You said that yesterday." "Meant it yesterday, too." Sighed. "You've spent 3 days sitting in the dirt." "No. You could be fixing fences." "I already fixed the north fence." "You could be helping with cattle." "I finished that before sunrise." I stared at him. "When do you sleep?" "When the work is done." Thunder kept watching Ethan without moving. I whispered, "He's still keeping his distance." "So am I." "You aren't frustrated?" "No. Why not? Trust isn't built by rushing." I leaned against the fence. "I've never seen anyone train a horse like this." "I'm not training him." "What are you doing?" "I'm introducing myself." I laughed. "To a horse?" "Why not?" Before I answered, Jake walked toward us carrying a toolbox. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I replied. Jake nodded toward Ethan. Still talking instead of writing? Ethan smiled. We're making progress. Jake looked at Thunder. I'll admit something. What? He isn't trying to kick you anymore. Ethan nodded. That's enough for today. Jake scratched his beard. I honestly thought you'd quit. I don't quit easily. Jake looked at me. I like him. You decided that fast. I judge people by how they work. Ethan stood and dusted off his jeans. Jake smiled. You've repaired fences, cleaned stalls, helped with calves, and never complained. I'm grateful for the job. Jake looked at me again. We needed someone like him. I forced a smile. I just wish good workers paid bills. Jake's smile faded. Any news? I shook my head. No. The bank? They called again. What did they say? They want another payment by the end of the month. Jake lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. So am I. Silence settled between us. Finally, Ethan asked, how bad is it? I hesitated. Worse than I admit. You could sell cattle. I already did. Equipment? The extra tractor is gone. What about Thunder? I looked away. I've thought about it. Jake spoke immediately. Don't. I may not have a choice. Ethan looked at Thunder. I think you do. How? Keep believing. I laughed bitterly. Belief doesn't pay debts. No. What then? People do. I frowned. What does that mean? When people trust each other, impossible things become possible. You really believe that? I've lived it. I looked at him carefully. You always answer like that. Like what? As if every sentence hides another story. He smiled quietly. Maybe it does. So tell me. Not yet. What are you hiding? He looked toward the mountains. Nothing. Worth talking about. I don't believe you. You don't have to. Jake changed the subject. Come. Look. We followed him toward the pen. Thunder had stepped. Closer than ever before. Only a few feet separated him from Ethan. Jake whispered. I've never seen him do that. Neither had I. Ethan stayed perfectly still. He didn't reach out. He didn't move. Thunder lowered his head slightly. I felt my heart race. Touch him, I whispered. Ethan shook his head. Not today. Why? Because this moment belongs to him. Thunder took one slow breath and remained where he was. Couldn't explain why my eyes suddenly burned. Maybe because I realized Thunder wasn't the only one. Learning to trust. I looked at Ethan. You know something? What? I still don't know who you are. He smiled gently. Neither do I. I laughed despite everything. For the first time in months, the weight on my shoulders felt just a little lighter, and I quietly hoped trusting Ethan would save far more than my ranch. I was repairing a broken gate when a black truck rolled into my yard. Jake looked up. Company? I wasn't expecting anyone. The truck stopped beside the barn. A well-dressed man stepped out and smiled. You must be the owner. I am. I'm Victor Hale. I know who you are. He adjusted his expensive hat. I've heard good things about your ranch. I've heard plenty about yours. He laughed. I like honesty. What do you want? To help you. I didn't ask for help. You need it anyway. I folded my arms. Get to the point. I want to buy this ranch. It's not for sale. I'll pay double its value. No. He smiled again. Triple. My answer hasn't changed. Victor glanced toward Thunder's pen. And the horse. Especially not him. I've heard he's difficult. That's none of your concern. I collect exceptional horses. Thunder isn't a trophy. Victor shrugged. Everything has a price. Not everything. He stepped closer. You owe the bank. I stiffened. Who told you that? People talk. They shouldn't. I can solve every problem you have today. I said no. Victor's smile disappeared. You should think carefully. I already have. You'll lose everything. I'll take my chances. He stared into my eyes. You'll regret this. I answered quietly. I'd regret selling more. Victor tipped his hat. We'll speak again. I doubt it. He climbed into his truck and drove away. Jake let out a slow breath. I don't like him. Neither do I. Ethan walked from the barn. I heard enough. What do you think? I think he expected you to surrender. I won't. Good. That evening I checked the storage shed. The chain lay on the ground. The door hung open. I frowned. Jake! He hurried over. What happened? Someone opened the shed. He looked inside. Tools are missing. How many? Too many. I searched every corner. This makes no sense. Jake shook his head. We locked it. I remember. The next morning, another problem waited. Part of the south fence had been cut. Not broken. Cut. I knelt beside the wire. This wasn't an accident. Jake looked worried. Who would do this? I don't know. Ethan crouched beside me. Look closer. I did. The edges were clean. You were right. Someone used tools. I stood slowly. Maybe teenagers. Ethan shook his head. No, why not? They wanted your cattle to escape. I looked across the pasture. They almost did. Jake swallowed hard. This is getting serious. I tried convincing myself everything was coincidence. Missing tools, cut fences, bad luck, nothing more. Then I heard Thunder screaming. I ran toward the pen. Thunder raced in circles, breathing hard. It's okay, I shouted. He ignored me. Ethan climbed onto the fence. Don't go inside yet. He's terrified. I know. What happened? Ethan pointed downward. Fresh footprints surrounded the pen. I stared at them. Someone came here. Yes, they frightened him. I believe so. My stomach tightened. I looked toward the road. For the first time, the ranch no longer felt safe. I whispered, why would anyone do this? Ethan answered. Softly, because fear makes people easier to defeat. I shook my head. This can't be about business. I don't think it is. Anymore. I remembered Victor's final words. You'll regret this. The sentence echoed inside my mind. I wanted to believe it was only a threat spoken in anger, but standing beside Thunder's frightened eyes, the broken fence and the stolen tools, I finally accepted one terrifying truth. Someone wanted my ranch to fall, and they had already begun. I woke before sunrise to Jake pounding on my door. Wake up. I rushed outside. What happened? Thunder's gone. My heart dropped. What? The gate was left open. I locked it. No, Ethan was already saddling another horse. I'm going after him. I'm coming. Jake grabbed my arm. Storm is moving in. I don't care. Ethan nodded. We'll bring him home. We followed fresh tracks into the hills. Dark clouds gathered. Above us, I called out, Thunder! Only the wind answered. Rain started falling. Looked at Ethan. We should turn back. Not without him. Lightning flashed across the sky. The rain became heavier. Finally, Ethan pointed. Head there. Thunder stood beneath a cluster of trees. Trembling, I stepped forward. Easy, boy. Another crack of thunder shook the ground. Thunder bolted again. No. Ethan caught my shoulder. Don't. Chase him. We can't lose him. We won't. The storm grew worse. Rain soaked my clothes. We need shelter. I nodded reluctantly. We found an abandoned hunting cabin. Inside, I sat beside the cold fireplace. I hate this. I know. I keep failing. No, I can't protect my ranch. You're still standing. Barely. Silence filled the room. Finally, I asked, why are you really here? Ethan stared into the rain. I told you I've been many places. That's not enough. He closed his eyes. I once had someone who believed in me. Who? My younger brother. What happened? I promised I'd keep him safe. I waited quietly. I failed. My chest tightened. Was it an accident? Yes. Could you have stopped it? I've asked myself that every day. You blame yourself. I always will. You shouldn't. No. But knowing doesn't erase guilt. I understood that feeling. He looked at me. Your turn. I smiled sadly. I'm afraid. Of Victor? No. The bank? No. What then? Losing this ranch. You've said that before. I haven't told you. Why? He listened. My father built every fence. With his own hands. I swallowed. Hard. Every tree reminds me of him. I looked down. When he died, this place became all I had left. You still have people. I know. But if I lose the ranch, I lose him all over again. Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder. You won't face that alone. His words stayed with me. By morning, the storm had passed. We found Thunder waiting only a short distance away. He walked toward Ethan without fear. I smiled. Looks like he chose you. He chose hope. We rode home together. As the ranch came into view, my smile disappeared. The barn door hung open. Windows were shattered. Feed sacks had been ripped apart. I jumped from my horse. "Jake!" He ran toward me. "You finally made it. What happened?" "I don't know." My hands shook. This wasn't the storm. No. Grace, my elderly neighbor, walked across the yard with a worried face. "I saw lights here last night," she said. "You did?" "2 trucks. Why didn't you call me?" There wasn't time. I looked around the ruined yard. Grace touched my arm. "Listen carefully." "I'm listening." "The damage didn't start this week." "What do you mean?" She sighed. "Someone has been working against you for much longer than you realize." I stared at the destruction around me. Every broken board suddenly felt planned instead of random. I realized Grace wasn't guessing, she was warning me, and deep inside, I feared she already knew exactly who was responsible. I couldn't stop thinking about Grace's warning. The next morning, Jake rushed into the barn. "You need to see this." "What is it?" "Come now." I followed him behind the equipment shed. A pair of muddy boots rested beside the wall. Jake pointed downward. "Recognize those tracks?" I looked carefully. They matched the prints around Thunder's pen. He nodded. "They lead here." My stomach tightened. Ethan walked toward us. "What's going on?" Jake folded his arms. "Those tracks end beside your room." Ethan looked down. "I see them." I asked quietly, "Can you explain this?" "They aren't mine." Jake frowned. "They stop outside your door. I didn't put them there." I wanted to believe him. I really did. Then Jake held up a wrench. "We found this too." I stared. It was one of the stolen tools. Ethan looked shocked. "I've never seen that." Jake shook his head. "It was under your bed." Silence filled the yard. I looked at Ethan. "Tell me the truth." "I am." "Then how did those things get there?" "I don't know." I felt anger replacing hope. "I trusted you." "I know. Give me one reason not to believe this." "Because you've known my heart." "I've only known you a few weeks." "You've seen how I treated Thunder." "That doesn't explain this. It explains who I am." I couldn't meet his eyes. "I can't risk this ranch." "You don't have to." "What are you saying?" "I'll leave." The words hit harder than I expected. "Ethan, I won't stay where I'm hurting you." "You already have." Pain crossed his face. "I never betrayed you." "I wish I believed that." He picked up his small bag. "I hope someday you do." He walked away without looking back. I watched until he disappeared beyond the road. Everything felt empty. That afternoon, I met with my accountant. Samuel Reed sat behind a stack of papers. "I heard your worker left," he said. "Yes, probably for the best." I thought so too. He pushed several documents toward me. "Sign these." "What are they?" "Routine financial records." I skimmed the pages. Something felt wrong. "These numbers don't match." Samuel smiled nervously. "Simple bookkeeping error. Show me the old records." "They're unnecessary." I said, "Show me." His hands started shaking. "You're wasting time." "No." I opened another folder. Hidden beneath newer files were older ledgers. I stared in disbelief. Payments had disappeared. Large transfers had been made for years. None of them had my signature. I looked up slowly. "Samuel." He stayed silent. "What is this?" "You wouldn't understand." "Try me." "I had debts." "So you stole from me?" "I borrowed." "For years?" "I plan to repay it." My voice rose. "Who received this money?" He lowered his head. "Victor." I froze. "What?" "He promised nobody would notice." "How long?" "Almost 4 years." I could barely breathe. "You helped destroy my ranch." "I didn't think it would go this far." "You watched me lose workers." "I'm sorry." "You watched me sell cattle." No. "You watched me blame Ethan," Samuel whispered. I never expected that. The truth crashed into me all at once. Victor had stolen my money. Samuel had hidden it. Someone had planted the tools. Someone had framed Ethan. I covered my face. "Oh no." Samuel looked away. "I made terrible choices. You destroyed my father's life's work." Tears filled my eyes. "I accused the one man who stood beside me." I ran outside before Samuel could speak again. Jake caught up with me. "What happened?" "I was wrong." "What do you mean?" "Ethan never betrayed us." "How do you know?" "Because the real traitor was sitting in my office all along." I climbed onto my horse. Jake called after me. Where are you going? To find Ethan. And if you're too late? I gripped the reins tightly. Then I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I drove away the only person who truly believed in me. I searched for Ethan until sunset. Every empty road felt longer than the last. Jake rode beside me. We've covered every trail. I know. We should head back. I can't. You haven't eaten. I don't care. As we reached the ranch, another horse waited outside the barn. I stared. Ethan. He stepped forward quietly. I came back. I climbed down so quickly I almost fell. I'm sorry. He looked into my eyes. I know. No. You don't. I think I do. I accused. You were scared. I should have trusted you. You trusted the evidence. It was fake. No. I lowered my head. Can you forgive me? He smiled gently. I already have. I could hardly believe him. Why? Because carrying anger never healed anyone. My throat tightened. I don't deserve that. Maybe not. Then why? Because someone once forgave me when I didn't deserve it. Before I could answer, he handed me a leather folder. What's this? Proof. I opened it carefully. Inside were copied bank records, signed receipts, and letters. My eyes widened. Where did you get these? I visited an old friend at the county records office. You found all this? I kept looking after I left. Jake flipped through the papers. This proves Samuel worked with Victor. It proves much more. I looked closer. Hidden payments, false contracts, forged signatures, everything connected. Jake smiled. This can save the ranch. Ethan nodded. If we move quickly. A truck pulled into the yard. A sheriff stepped out. He adjusted his badge. I'm Sheriff Daniel Brooks. I shook his hand. I'm glad you're here. He looked at the folder. I've reviewed part of the evidence. What do you think? I think someone committed serious crimes. Will you investigate? I already have. Hope returned for the first time in weeks. The sheriff continued. Samuel confessed this afternoon. I blinked. He confessed? Yes. And Victor? We're bringing him in for questioning. Jake laughed. It's about time. The sheriff looked at Ethan. You gathered impressive evidence. Ethan shrugged. I only followed the truth. The sheriff nodded. I wish more people did. After he left, silence settled over us. I looked at Ethan. You never stopped helping me. I couldn't, even after I told you to leave. This ranch still mattered. So did I. He smiled. You always did. I felt tears forming again. I don't know how to thank you. You already have. I have. You believed me. Too late. No. He pointed toward Thunder's pasture. Look. Thunder walked calmly across the field. When Ethan called softly, Thunder came without hesitation. I smiled. I've never seen him so peaceful. He finally knows he's safe. I watched Thunder lower his head beside Ethan. Then I understood. Something. The horse hadn't changed because someone forced him. He changed because someone earned his trust. I looked back at Ethan. You taught me more than you taught Thunder. What did I teach you? That strength isn't winning every fight. What is it? Choosing kindness when pride feels easier. Nodded. That's a lesson worth keeping. I took a deep breath and looked across my ranch. The battle wasn't over. Victor still had money, power, influence. But for the first time since my father died, I wasn't standing alone, with Ethan beside me. Thunder finally at peace and the truth finally uncovered. I believed we still had one last chance to save everything we loved. I tightened Thunder's saddle before the county riding event. Jake walked over. You ready? As ready as I'll ever be. You don't have to prove anything. I'm not here to prove anything. Then why ride? Because this ranch deserves to be seen standing. Ethan adjusted Thunder's bridle. He trusts you now. I trust him too. Ethan smiled. That's what matters. People filled the fairgrounds. I spotted Victor watching from across the arena. He smiled coldly. Jake whispered, Ignore him. I'll try. A woman carrying a camera approached me. Excuse me. Yes? I'm Lily Carter. The reporter? She nodded. I've been covering everything happening between you and Victor. I hope today's story is quieter. She laughed. I hope so too. The announcer shouted, Riders, take your positions. I climbed into the saddle. Ethan looked up at me. You've got this. I hope you're right. The starting bell rang. Thunder moved smoothly. Every step felt steady. The crowd cheered. For the first time in months, I felt free. Then everything changed. A loud crack exploded behind us. Thunder jumped violently. What was that? Someone screamed. I looked back. A broken gate swung wildly. Another horse crashed into the track. Thunder panicked. Easy! He bolted forward. No! I pulled the reins. He wouldn't stop. The crowd disappeared behind us. Jake shouted my name. I barely heard him. Thunder raced toward the hills. Ethan! The wind swallowed my voice. Branches whipped past my face. I fought to stay in the saddle. Please stop! Thunder kept running. Ahead, the trail narrowed. My heart froze. The cliff. No! Behind me, I heard pounding hooves. Ethan, I'm coming! He shouted. Stay back. I'm not leaving you. Thunder slipped on loose stones. The edge drew closer. I closed my eyes for one terrifying second. This is how it ends. Ethan's voice cut through the fear. Look at me! I forced my eyes open. Don't fight him! What? Talk to him! He can't hear me. He knows your voice. I grabbed the reins tightly. Thunder! He kept running. Thunder! His ears twitched. You're safe! Another step. Another heartbeat. Please, boy! Thunder slowed slightly. That's it. Ethan yelled. You can do this. The cliff stood only yards away. Rocks crumbled beneath Thunder's front hooves. I felt the ground shaking. Ethan! I'm here. He pushed his horse harder. The cliff began collapsing. Thunder stumbled. I lost one stirrup. I'm falling! Ethan reached toward me. Take my hand. I can't. You can. I stretched with everything I had. Our hands met. He grabbed my wrist. Thunder gathered every bit of strength he had. With one desperate leap, he pulled away from the breaking edge. Ethan pulled me sideways. I crashed against his shoulder. Seconds later, the cliff collapsed into the valley below. Dust filled the air. Silence followed. I could barely breathe. Ethan helped me stand. You okay? I nodded slowly. I think so. Thunder walked toward us, shaking but unharmed. I wrapped my arms around his neck. You saved me, Ethan smiled. He saved us both. Lily lowered her camera with tears in her eyes. I've never seen anything like that. Neither had I. I looked at Ethan. I hired you to help my horse. I remember. I thought Thunder was the one who needed saving. Ethan shook his head. We all needed saving. Emotion caught in my throat. You risked your life. I'd do it again. Why? Because family is worth fighting for. I looked at Thunder, then back at Ethan. For the first time since my father died, I understood that family wasn't only the people I was born with. Sometimes family was the person who refused to let me fall, even after I had once pushed him away. I stood outside the courthouse with Ethan beside me. Jake smiled. It's finally over. I nodded. It really is. Sheriff Brooks walked toward us. I thought you'd want to hear it directly. I do. He smiled. Victor Hale was found guilty. I closed my eyes. And Samuel? He admitted everything. What happens now? They'll both answer for what they did. I let out a long breath. My father would have wanted justice. He got it. The sheriff shook my hand before leaving. Jake laughed quietly. I haven't seen you smile like that in years. I almost forgot how. Ethan looked across the road. What will you do now? I smiled. Go home. When we reached the ranch, Grace waited on the porch. She hugged me. I knew you'd make it. I almost didn't. But you did. I looked around. Workers repaired fences. Fresh paint covered the barn. The ranch felt alive again. Jake grinned. We've been busy. I can see that. Thunder walked across the pasture with calm, steady steps. Children visiting nearby reached through the fence. Instead of pulling away, Thunder lowered his head. I laughed. Can you believe that? Ethan smiled. He remembers kindness. So do I. Grace touched my shoulder. Your father would be proud. Tears filled my eyes. I hope so. Weeks passed quickly. More people visited the ranch. Some brought frightened horses. Others came only to watch Thunder. One afternoon I asked Ethan, what do we call this place now? He looked around thoughtfully. What do you mean? It isn't just a ranch anymore. No, it's becoming something different. He nodded. A place where frightened horses can heal. And frightened people? He smiled. They're welcome too. I laughed. I like that. Soon we built new training pens. No ropes for punishment. No harsh methods. Only patience. Only trust. Jake watched one young horse walk calmly beside Ethan. I never believed this could work. I answered, neither did I. Grace smiled. Sometimes the strongest hands are the gentlest. I never forgot those words. Months later, Lily returned with another camera. She asked, "Can I ask one final question?" Of course. What changed your life the most? I looked at Thunder. Then I looked at Ethan. I thought strength meant controlling everything. And now? I know strength means choosing trust even after betrayal. Lily smiled. That's a better story than I expected. It became a better life than I expected. She thanked us and walked away. As the sun began setting, Ethan stood beside the pasture. I joined him. Remember the first day you met Thunder? I do. I almost sent you away. You almost did. I'm glad I didn't. So am I. Thunder walked between us and gently nudged my shoulder. I scratched behind his ears. You know something? Ethan looked at me. What? I hired you to tame one stubborn horse. He laughed softly. That was the plan. It didn't happen that way. No. You saved my ranch. He stayed quiet. You saved my life. He smiled. You saved your own. I shook my head. I never could have done it alone. We watched the sky turn golden above the fields my father had loved. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of tomorrow. The ranch had survived. My heart had healed. Thunder had become a symbol of hope instead of fear. And the quiet cowboy I once doubted had given me the greatest gift anyone ever could. He taught me that trusting again after betrayal isn't weakness. It's the beginning of a brand new life,